SourKidsProductions.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. Let's flip in the building. Hey, Money Elms, you ready? Let's go. Welcome to Elm Street, the hottest podcast. And all that cash in Money Elms pockets, it look like thigh pads. He talking trending topics, he ain't no carbon copy. We talking sports, music, and fashion and other options to get us out the hood and keep that paper coming. And I smoke cones, not backwoods, I'm about to blaze an onion. These rappers flexing on the gram and they got fake cheddar. This intro was provided to you by Flip Mayweather. That right. Yeety. Money Elms, what's up? Yeah. Lil' Flip in the building. Screwed up clip. Welcome to Elm Street.
Yo, welcome to Elm Street. I'm your boy, I'm your host, Money Elms, man. Today is a special day, man. I got a great guest in the studio. Well, not in the studio, but we're doing our first Skype interview. So we'll see how it goes. We've been having some crazy weather out here in Dallas. Like I always say, this weather out here is bipolar, man. One day is sunny, one day is rainy, the next day is snowing. It's just very unpredictable. But we're having some cold weather in the beginning of spring. How about that? But you know what? Without further introduction, man, I got to bring out my special guest. I'm actually very excited. Let me go ahead and introduce him. So we got Orlando Leyba in the house. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Elmer? I'm just here, brother. Coming via interwebs, bro. So they're already watching you on internet and podcasting and all of that. So now I'm happy. I'm your first guest that's coming in like this, doing it through a Skype interview.
Yeah, well, you know, we were supposed to have him here on the studio, but unfortunately, my man is very busy right now. He's getting booked left and right, and I was like, hey, I can't have you in the studio. At least I could have you on the webcam. You know, it's better than nothing.
No, you got it, man. And it's my pleasure being here, man.
Man, thank you. I appreciate it a whole lot, man. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right into trending topics and what's popping out in the streets. So I wanted to ask your point of view, since you're a comedian. What was your take as far as the whole George Lopez and Ralph Barbosa incident?
It was interesting. I remember that day my phone just blew up. People were hitting me on the phone. Here's the thing: the same day that it happened, I'm at the hotel, and it's the night before I'm gonna go do my 4th Tonight show with Jimmy Fallon. So all this is coming in. And I vibrate different, man. I'm a positive energy guy. I don't like negativity.
Yes, sir.
But I took a beat when it came in. I saw people send me the clip. Oh, this dude saying this about Ralph. I actually know Ralph, and I know the hard work that Ralph has put. He's a local guy. He's actually from Dallas. And I text Ralph. I said, hey, man, we fight negativity with love. Something corny like that, I said to him. And then I said, this guy just did you a favor. You know, he just sent a bunch of people your way. And his reply, Ralph is like a good dude, man. His reply instantly was like, yes, he did. And I'm good, man. I'm all good. And I was just like, that was cool, you know?
Yeah.
But I've never met George Lopez, so I can't speak on the man because I don't speak on men that I don't know personally.
Mm.
But what I do know, that topic about going out for self, there's a few people that think like that and not helping anybody out on the topic of, oh, I already set a template, and all you got to do is follow that template the same way that people kind of describing it the same way that you would write a resume if you've never wrote a resume, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, to myself, man, you just got caught out of pocket for a minute. I don't know if that's truly what's in your heart, because I personally know comics like Momo Rodriguez. He's on the George Lopez versus Lopez, and before that he was in Mayans. He got killed. His character got killed in the show Mayans, and I know for a fact that George helped him out. He helped him out with an acting coach and helped him get there. And probably it wasn't his first action that he wanted to do towards Momo. Mm-hmm. But then Momo hangs out with him. He's a close friend of George's. And I guess George figured it out. Oh, I got to help this guy. Plus his track record. I try to be a good listener in life. And one of the things about George that I've heard in interviews before is that how scared he was when Sandra Bullock was following him, I believe either to the Brea Improv or the Ice House, because she wanted to see him live, because potentially she was going to be the cosign he needed to get the George Lopez show on the air. And sure enough, she followed him. And he talks about, and this anybody can look up these interviews with George Lopez. He talks about looking in the rearview mirror and just being afraid that at any minute she was going to pull off the highway and be like, this is too far. Wherever it is that he's taking me to go see him is too far. And he also talks about bombing that night in front of Sandra Bullock. And she telling him, no, don't worry. Don't worry. I get it. I know how this comedy thing can be. And she gave him a hand. And Sandra Bullock's the beginning stories of the George Lopez show, plus the writers. He also talks about his writing team, the creators of the George Lopez show, how they went and fought for him. And they were like, hey, George Lopez needs to be a creator in this show. Yeah. Which is a game changer. You being a creator, now you're talking about for generations, your family is going to be able to eat after you leave, you know? Yeah. That's one thing is being an executive producer, an actor on a show, but what that creator credit, that's every time your show gets sold. And till this day, the George Lopez show, God bless, is still being aired on different networks. So I think he just got caught out of pocket. I don't know if it's mind state where his mind was that day when Steve Trevino, and God bless Steve Trevino, because Steve Trevino is an amazing human being. Not a lot of people know him that way. I've had the opportunity to sit and talk with Steve Trevino, and I know some of his trials and tribulations that he's gone through in life. But I love the evolution of Steve Trevino, where he really is like, man, I got my house in Texas. I got my kid. I got my family. I got my own lane. I got nothing else left but to help out the new people coming along. Yeah. And some of the old ones that haven't had that opportunity. Yeah. So shout out to Steve Trevino, man, for even bringing up Ralph Barbosa's name that day.
Yeah. I was, when I first heard the little clips that started surfacing up, you know, I was a little myself disappointed because I'm from LA, and then now I live here in Dallas. So it was like I represent both. Yes. So I was like, man, George Lopez is from around the same neighborhood where I'm from, out there in the valley. So I was like, and then I'm out here in Dallas, and Ralph is down, he's from down the street in Oak Cliff. So it's like, I was like, wow, man. I was like, man, why does it always have to be that Latino versus Latino?
Well, I did see an interview with Ralph, and we talked about it when he was here. I actually went to go see Ralph. He sold something that a lot of comics haven't done at the Hollywood Improv. He sold out 6 shows, a total of 6 shows, 2 shows a night, and he sold them all out. And he said it, and he said it in other podcasts. George called him directly, and he was like, hey, man, I apologize. So I feel that's where it ended. I feel George realized that he was out of pocket, because he could have been, dude. He's an OG, and he could just be sitting wherever he wants to sit and not even have to answer to anybody on that. So, but I love the fact that as a man, he called Ralph and made that peace with Ralph and apologized to him. Hey, I was wrong. You know, I apologize. You know, but this is the flip side of the story that people don't talk about. You know, this is just a little blip. Yeah. But like I said, I'm a man and I live by a certain code. Mm-hmm. And in my code, he fulfilled an honorable moment where he apologized. He called that man directly and got on the phone. Didn't make no internet apology to all the fans that he lost and all the young generation that's like, oh, you forgot who you are. Whatever it is that was being thrown his way, he didn't even go that route, which is the normal way that people go. Yeah. He was the route of, hey, get me Barbosa's cell phone number. I need to call him. And he called that man on his cell phone.
Hey, that's a stand-up thing to do as a man. And hey, I'm glad they patched things up, and you know, we could look at this and just put it behind us. And just...
I don't think it's patched up, but I think it's just like, because not everything needs to be patched up. Not everything needs to be, hey, I apologize. Good. We don't need to cross paths anymore. You know? Yeah. I know where I stand with you and you know where you stand with me. And it's like, it's kind of like those two OGs in the neighborhood that don't really like each other. Yeah. But they don't mess with each other and they don't cross each other's lines, you know? Yeah. And the same thing with family members. There's certain family members, we all have them. We love them. But it's like, man, when that, oh, so-and-so's there? No, I'm going to pass on. I'll see grandma next week, you know, like, oh, but if something happens to that family member, it's still going to hurt. You're still going to try to do your part to help them or, you know, to celebrate them whenever they can. But Ralph is in a good lane, man. He's all right. He's doing the right thing. And man, he's an authentic, pure stand-up comic. Oh, yeah. You know, I can just imagine all the things that are being offered to him. But that purity is beautiful to see. I just hang on the side, man, and I watch people work, and that young man has a pad on him all the time. Yeah, you know, he's always writing, and he's very like, even, you know, I don't feel like I'm that dude. But he treats me like I'm that dude. Like, hey, man, what's up and everything. You know, I don't approach you because I don't want to bother you. And I'm like, no, I'm different, man. You can approach me. I'm good. But I know that I give off Jesus Sepulveda, another comedian, gave me this. He goes, Orlando, you give off cat vibes. You're like a cat. You're kind of loving, but it's like people don't know whether or not to mess with you or not. And it's just like, I just stay in my own lane, you know, Elmer? I just stay in my own lane.
Yes, sir. So salute to Ralph Barbosa and all the éxito you're having right now, homie. Yeah. Hopefully he'll be sitting here in the studio soon. We'll see how that goes. But the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the whole Chris Rock situation with Will Smith. Yeah. Was you able to catch his special he did?
The last one, Chris Rock special. Yeah, it was Chris Rock. It was great. Some people feel some type of way about it. Oh, he needs to get over it. He needs to. It's like, no, dude, he's a comic. This is what comedians do. They build up their material by their life experiences. You know, you don't just sit there in a room and write jokes. You go and live life, and then that's what you talk about. And obviously, a lot of the people that might be complaining about Chris Rock never liked Chris Rock in the first place or haven't done the research and seen all his material, you know? But right now it's so funny because what is also going on is Marlon Wayans. I recommend anybody right now. Marlon Wayans special is on HBO Max. Watch Marlon Wayans special. And he talks about, he tells the story how Chris Rock sat in the front row and heckled him for his whole show back in the day and made him quit comedy. He quit comedy because Chris Rock heckled him and was like, let's see if you're funny. You know what I'm saying? Which Wayans are you? Tito? You know, that type of line. So I highly recommend Marlon Wayans special and Chris Rock special, man. People wanted to know. People were watching just for the chisme, just for the gossip. What's he gonna say? How's he gonna say it?
Yeah.
I was watching it for the art, the comedy that Chris Rock brings to us. You know, which is he's a reporter, man. He reports. You know.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. Some of the stuff that he did say. Apparently, Will Smith said that he hasn't caught it yet, but people close to him reported back to him of the stuff that he said, and apparently he's like, yeah, people need to get over it, need to get past this. I can't believe he's disgusted that Netflix actually gave Chris Rock the platform to do what he did. But I'm looking at it like, well, I mean, you shouldn't have done what you did.
Oh, you broke code, man. You broke code. You went up there and you decided to embarrass that man.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You decided to embarrass that man. That's going to live on for life. His grandkids are going to see that. You know, that's going to be like one of those moments, you know, that maybe I'm not even going to be here or Chris Rock will be here, but that's going to be like the last 100 years on moments of the last 100 years. And that's going to, I'm willing to gamble that's going to be one of the moments of the last 100 years. That's going to be there in history where people are going to talk about it, you know?
But, Chris Rock, a true professional, because, the show must go on. And he didn't break, he kept going. So.
Oh yeah. Cause he's that brother. Because I know the Rock brothers, and I don't know Chris, but I know Tony, and I know his other brothers, and that would have been a different situation. Even though Will Smith was Ali, and if you read Will Smith's book, which I did, he after Ali, he decided to train his whole life the same way. So he kept training boxing. He kept training, and he attacked every project like the same way that a boxer goes into camp when he has a championship match coming up. So if you ever get a chance to read his book, that's one of the things that I clearly remember out of Will Smith's book. And the other one is that his wife said, "I don't want to marry you. I don't want to get married. I just want to be together. I don't want to get married." You know, and then when he went and bought the big ranch, she told him, "I don't want to live here." And he goes, "No, you're going to love it living here. You're going to love being married." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So read between the lines on those chapters now that more things are coming out. And that what I'm telling you is I don't speak on nobody. This is the stuff that people have voluntarily put out in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember getting the Will Smith book just to see, because I'm a strong believer in that success leaves clues, and it leaves footprints, and it leaves a blueprint. All these things are said about success. And it's true. No one's really reinventing anything. It's just, they're just doing it over, and they find a better way to make the wheel, just a faster way or a more effective way of making the wheel. And all these things that I read or that I watch or is just always looking for those clues. And like from Will Smith, I do got to take it that I love the fact that every project, he said, I trained for every project like I was training for a boxing match, like if I was doing Ali, you know? So I love that. I love that mind state where you can just focus on one thing. But yeah, man, hopefully that, I don't think that's another one that's going to ever be settled. It's just going to be like you're over there and I'm over here.
Yeah.
You know, but in between all that, Marlon Wayans, man, because I like when a comic is just having a good moment. And like two other guys we just talked about, one is Ralph Barbosa, the other one is Marlon Wayans right now with his special on HBO.
Yeah, I'm going to have to catch it most definitely, man. Because I didn't even know he had a special that came out.
Oh, you're going to love it, man. Because he puts in a lot of information because he knows the both of them well.
Yeah.
Everybody, because that's one of those families, the Wayans, that everybody needs to kind of pay their respect to what they've accomplished.
Cool. I appreciate that you could share your opinion on those two subjects. But
what was your opinion
on which one?
Will Smith and Chris Rock.
I mean, he's a comic at the end of the day, like you said, he's putting out material of experiences that he goes through. And hey, Will Smith gave him the material.
Yeah.
And, I thought it was.
But also as a man, and I don't know if you're in a relationship, we're not that close, but I'm a husband too. I also wonder, like, if I'm sitting there in the front row and a comic makes fun of my wife, how would I react? But I'm also Latino, and I'm also, I grew up with brothers that's like, nah, you let that simmer and you catch them when nobody's watching. That way there's no witnesses. Like, it's like my whole family's I'm the only one everybody else is kind of goon adjacent. So I've gotten a lot of knowledge on how to pull off certain miscellaneous activities.
Yeah.
And how you pull them off.
Because, I mean, Jada did give him the third degree right after those jokes. And it looked like Will Smith he thought they were funny.
Yeah, that's where his whole
I don't think Jada was mad of the jokes that Chris Rock said. I think she was mad because of Will Smith's reaction. How he laughed about it. So she looked at him like, this look is for you, not for him.
Yes.
And then I guess
he was like, "Oh man, I gotta fix
I better
this.
do something." So he reacted on impulse.
I'm lucky my wife has never put me in that predicament. She's also very smart, very intelligent woman that she can maneuver her way through situations. And I remember us being in a lounge and someone disrespecting not my wife but a family member. And she was a female and it was a guy. And I just remember I just stepped in right away and my wife went to defuse the situation. I ended up getting punched in the eye, but it was because my wife was hanging on my back, trying to climb over me to get to the guy. And I was just like, I thought you were the diffuser. Like, why? You got me cut under the eye over trying to you also get into some, So
hey, that kind of reminds me of this incident that I had one time. So the whole night I had, we were at the club and I had these guys just, like doing little stuff that kind of aggravated me, were irritating me. A couple times we would walk by and they would bump me. And I was like, and then everybody was like, hey, you need to calm down. Why are you so aggressive? I was like, hey, I'm not doing anything. These guys are provoking me. So the whole night they were busy just trying to calm me down and everything. But thank God nothing happened. I didn't get involved in no altercation. But at the end of the night, I remember we're outside the club and some chick bumps my girl and she started getting a little rowdy.
Yeah, she turned up the volume.
Yeah, so then I'm like, I see cops and I'm like, hey, not right now. This is not the place. I was like, we need to get out of here. And, the cops clearly see that I'm trying to defuse the situation. And in the moment, I get maced in the face. I mean, the cop just came up straight into my face with the can of mace and he maced me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, this is for you because she's getting out of line. So here you go.
Yeah.
And I took it.
Yeah, you have to. And then you just look, then you look at her and you're like, why were you trying to get active? Why were you getting active right now? You were telling me,
They're like, calm down.
Yeah. And you probably already read the room earlier. You knew that you should have gotten out of there way earlier than what you did. But everybody was vibing and everything. Yeah. Some people just don't have the spidey sense, man.
Oh, yeah.
I have the spidey sense right away, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And the thing that I've learned to do is just to leave. Hey, we're leaving.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to have an argument here or an argument in the car? I'm down for it. but we're leaving.
Oh yeah.
And then later on, we'll get a phone call. Yo, you wouldn't believe what happened. I said, I don't even want to know what happened, but I know it wasn't good because I saw the room. I read that energy.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, nowadays it won't happen now, but we was young and dumb. That's usually what happens.
No, I've never been dumb, but I'm 10 years older, 10 years younger than my older brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So like I learned through them. And then my mom used to say in Spanish, a puro trompezones, tú aprende a levantar los pies, which means the more you trip, the more you learn how to pick up your feet, which it translates into you learn from your mistakes. But a real smart person, and I'm not saying I'm really smart, but she used to tell me this, a really smart person learns from other people's mistakes, So my older brothers, I love them. They're both beautiful human beings, but they had knuckles on top of knuckles. They were gladiator status. Yeah. And I remember being so proud of them when I was a kid, but then I was also, that doesn't look cool. That's not a good look right now, dude. You have a busted lip. That's not a good look, bro.
So now we're going to jump into the interview portion. Let the audience get to know who Orlando is.
Let's do it.
So I guess let's start off with your early history. Where your parents from and where were you born and raised?
I was born in Puerto Rico. Both of my parents are Dominican. Mm-hmm. Due to legal problems, we ended up all living back in Dominican Republic. Just the paperwork wasn't right. Let's just leave it at that. But I was a U.S. citizen because I was born in Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. And then we got a whole nother set of papers, and those were more legit. Yeah. And we fast forward, lived in New York for a little bit. I didn't like it. And then we moved down to Florida, and I grew up in Florida. So I'm a Florida boy. I'm fluent in Spanish. I go in and out of Spanish with no problem. I remember comedian Steve Trevino, and I tell him this every time that he sees me. I said, man, thank you for the best advice. And he goes, what did I tell you? I said, you saw me at the Miami Improv doing stand-up, and you said, hey, you know how you do that Spanglish thing that you're always just talking Spanglish as you're telling your jokes? He goes, you don't need to do that. Just tell your jokes in English. You're doing American stand-up. Tell your joke. You can always pull the Spanish out of your back pocket. That's easy for you. And because I was basically doing stand-up for a Miami local crowd, and he saw that this is the beautiful thing about Steve. He saw it in me, I want to say, that like, you're bigger than this, man. You don't need to just perform in Miami. You can perform in Albuquerque, and you can perform in Arizona and in Texas and in Milwaukee and and I've been to all these, in Seattle and Washington D.C., New York City, Chicago, and thanks to Steve Trevino, that advice just stuck with me everywhere. And like he said, that Spanish, I can pull it out anytime that I need it.
Yeah.
So prior to stand-up, I bounced around like you. I did a lot of jobs. Some of them were in music. Some of them were the last ones were in TV production. I was a satellite engineer for CBS News in South Florida. So I got to chase hurricanes and cover the Super Bowl and shuttle launches. I was also a cameraman. And then my wife thought that I was depressed or something, and she got me classes to go do improv acting. I did improv acting, and then that teacher said, "Hey, you should try stand up. Improv isn't for you." And then I tried stand up, and then that was it.
So it just came from one day your teacher just said,
Yeah. I was 32 years old, and it was like a natural thing. These natural conversations that I was having with my friends, I just started bringing them on stage. And my style is more of a storyteller when I'm doing stand up, and which is our culture is built on storytelling. Is these stories that get passed down through generations, and then you just start living your life and you start telling the story. You start reporting on it.
You remember the first club you performed at?
Miami Improv, man. I wear that like a badge of honor. That thing you had to be on. You had to be solid. you couldn't play around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were
You couldn't mail it in there.
So were you nervous?
Yes, it's always nervous, but I always embrace it. I embrace the nerves. Uh, um, the anxiety thing, I recognize it. And if you suffer from anxiety, my heart goes out to you, and I hope you figure out a way to deal with it. Sometimes I make sure that I don't get confused anxiety with excitement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I'm not suffering from anxiety. I'm just excited. But sometimes I'm driving in the highway and I got to pull over because traffic is a little bit overwhelming, dude. I feel like someone's going to hit my car and my mind goes there,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to pull over and get my mind out of that, and then get back on the highway. That's anxiety. When I'm going on stage, no anxiety. It's just like, oh, okay. I give thanks and I keep it going, man. I keep it moving. I'm excited about this moment that's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I prepared. I'm ready. So the anxiety, there's no anxiety behind that because I've done the work.
Have you ever had a heckler in one of your shows?
Oh, and every comic has them, and then I used to do the old stuff where I used to go mean and like talk about them and like,
Mm-hmm.
but now this thing has happened, but obviously it's after COVID and everything. And you're also talking to a man who's in touch with his feelings a lot. I feel way too much. I go out to the desert. I've had therapy, now I talk to them. Like, what happened? What made you say that? What happened between here and the parking lot that has you having this outburst? Because it ain't even for me, and I start questioning them, and I'll start like a little interview with them and do like a little quick session with some of the tools that I've learned throughout my life.
Mm.
And now I'm having, like, when it's a heckler, now it turns into like a learning moment for me, a learning moment for that person. And then I go,
Yeah.
Are you upset that I said that about that person, or are you really upset that your dad never told you that he loved you? And this is the way that it's manifesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's all right. Those dudes are old school. They didn't know how to say I loved you. The way they said I love you was by paying the rent and keeping food on the table. You know what I'm saying? That's how he said, don't worry, not everybody got hugged. I didn't get hugged. Like I start saying, and it becomes funny because to a certain generation, they didn't grow up with their mom and dad saying I love you. So I pivot into that from the anger that first gets thrown at me. Oh, I didn't like what you just said about this. And the thing is that the comedian Bill Burr put it best. He said, once the joke leaves your mouth, it's not your joke anymore. It lands on you, and you're going to cut that. The audience is going to cut it with their ears and their childhood and what they've gone through that day. So I have a lady who got up one day and wanted to slap me, and I was doing an IKEA joke. How my wife can't build IKEA furniture because she's too smart. IKEA furniture and this is like an old joke when I'm first starting out. I said IKEA furniture is for children and men because it's all drawings. There's no literal grab screw number 2 and put it. It's all cartoon drawings. So if you try to attack it like you're too smart, it's not going to happen. And this lady got up on stage at the Miami Improv and took a full swing slap at me. And I just moved out of the way like Neo in the Matrix. Yeah. This was way before. She was ahead of her time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did she get tackled by security?
No, I actually, because I moved out of the way and she was about to fall off the stage. So I caught her and I helped her get straight up. And then I put the mic down and I said, what are you doing right now? And then she kind of like came out. She was blacked out. She just blacked out. And when security came to grab her, I held security down and I was like, no, she's all right. She's going to go back to her table. She just needs some water. If one of the servers can please bring her some water. And she was like, yeah, all I need is a little bit of water. And she sat back down. And because I knew she was a woman, man. If I would have made a big ruckus about it, that audience would have turned on me also.
Yeah.
You know?
So let me ask you about your HBO special that I
Dale.
thought it was hilarious, dude.
Yeah. Adorable, man. Adorable is one of my finest moments. Right now, it airs on HBO Max. If you don't have HBO Max, do what I tell everybody. Just sign up for a week and then set the alarm for the 5th day to make sure that you cancel it, you know? But go in there, watch my special, Adorable, and then watch the whole farm team. I like to call it like it's a major league team, but this is like a whole, if you pay attention to what Edwin Licona has done and Victor, with Viva Films, they've created this farm team where they put you on as a 5-minute or as a 15-minute, and then that develops to like the second time you come back around, now let's give you a half hour. So now they're coming back around and they're like, Orlando, let's give. So my first time working with Viva Films with Edwin Licona and Victor, my first time it was 5 minutes for Ida Rodriguez special for Entre Nos. That's what the series is called, the Entre Nos series. And you got Jesus Sepulveda, you got Eric Rivera, you got Jerry Garcia, you got Ida Rodriguez, Marcela. She just dropped one. Ralph Barbosa is one of them. And it's all there. It's like we have this whole beautiful section of Latino stand-ups that are not doing typical Latino, like what people assume the Latinos do. It's like these are people like writing and being true craftsmen of their comedy, and it's beautiful. So, but even then, it's all help. This is all because I did a spot for Ben Gonzalez at the West Side Theater, comedian Ben Gonzalez, and Edwin Licona came to see that show, and he nudged Edwin Licona, and he was like, "Hey, you need to watch Orlando." He goes, "Yeah, I've never heard of this guy," and he watched me, and after the show, he's like, "Yo, I want to give you like 5 minutes," and then he cleared it with Ida Rodriguez, another great stand-up, and Ida was like, "Hey, you need to have Orlando. This isn't about whether or not I want to have him. You need to have him." Because I'm one of those guys that really, I have a code and I also stay in my own lane. It's like, I always put my faith in God, and the faith that I have is like the right people will see me, and when it's seen, it's there. And even when the people say to me, "Hey man, you're so underrated," I said, "I'm not underrated, man. I'm just in my own lane. I'll get there when I get there." You know, I'm a slow simmer, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
I have the same belief, you know. I think what's meant for you is meant for you, and it's gonna happen at the moment that it needs to happen.
And no man can take it away.
Oh yes, sir.
No man can take it away. That's why when other people get it, you just see me celebrating it, man. You know, I'm very adamant about that. I'm not good at social media, so that's one of the ways that I'm blessed that my friends are winning, and sometimes they're not even my friends. And I just celebrate them like, "Yo, so-and-so just won. Here you go." Because that triggers something inside you, man. You'll naturally start winning when you celebrate other people's wins. Because you're already in that energy. You're in that flow. So you'll be all right. Yeah? Yes, what is yours, and no man can take it away. That's why when someone else gets it, and you're like, "How did he get that?" Oh, man, you're going against nature right there. You're questioning nature right now. How come I didn't get that? No, dude, or gal, or person, you're wrong right now. You're not even going at that person. It's deeper than that. You're going at nature right now because nature decided that this was for them. So don't question how come I didn't get that and they got that. That's like, oof, that's some bad juju that you're sending your way, man.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Buddy.
I'm a strong believer in the laws of attraction. So, you know, what you put out there, you'll receive as well.
Yep.
So
we all tend to forget the natural law. There's man law, and then there's natural law, and you could refer to it also as nature law, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people want to go against natural law. Like that not everybody sees it like that, the way that I just said. Oh, you get angry because someone else got it and you didn't get it. And it's like, oh, dude, you're picking a fight with nature right now.
Mm.
You understand me? You're 100% picking a fight with nature, and that's not a fight that you want to have, because then it just starts. It just, man, nothing's working out for me. Oh, dude. To use an old word, you're being a hater. So you're just bringing hate your way instead of just putting it out. Like, man, I eat, I feed my family, I'm good. Everything else is just icing on the cake. All the wins are just all the wins, you know?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, buddy.
And speaking of wins, you was also just on Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon, yeah, this is my 4th time. I've done it during the pandemic. I did it. It all started in 2018 after Adorable came out, and I made them laugh, and that bought me a second try, and then I made them laugh the second time, the second opportunity, and then during COVID they didn't have many, and they brought me in, and I did it. That one actually they don't even have online anymore because they took down anything that had to deal with COVID. They took it down. And then this last time I went up, and it was a good vibe. And it's also beautiful, man, because people one of my things that I like to do is that I really like when I'm not talking about stuff that you expect me to talk about. So I went on the Fallon show, and I did 5 minutes on Yellowstone, the TV show, and the national park. And they don't expect that from me. They really don't. But that's why I ended up in Yellowstone, the park. And I don't go over there judging and, oh, there's so many white people around, and no, I go over there, man. Bless his heart, rest his soul, Anthony Bourdain. I took that from Bourdain, and it's like, just go in there curious, man. Just be in there, be open and be curious about the people that are living there, the park, and that's what. And I remember coming home after the first night that I was out and hanging out in Montana and just writing that 5 minutes for the Tonight Show. And I looked over at my wife and I said, I think I got another 5 minutes for Jimmy Fallon. And because I love the show, and I love what the show does, that in a day of all chaos, that's all that you're seeing on the news or social media, because you don't know how to curate the videos that come into your platform. You're seeing all this stuff. You could watch Jimmy Fallon at night. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to sleep, look at Jimmy Fallon and be like, that's just silly, man. This guy's so silly. And fall asleep like that.
Yeah.
Rather than watching, the evening news with Nora O'Donnell. And it's like the border and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Dude, I know I'm not ignorant. I know that this is happening. I know that people are dying. But, man, not everybody can be a soldier all the time at some point. You know what I'm saying? Even the toughest OG out there, man, tattoos all over his face, everything, wants the same thing that, like, the most educated Harvard graduate wants, which is, a roof over their head, for their family to be safe, water, food, that's it. And I've seen these OGs, and you lived in LA, so I know you've seen them too. I got to see them in Florida. They're the toughest person. And there's like, people are just terrified of this human being, but then you'll see them at a kid's party, at their kid's party, or like at a nephew or whatever, and they're just being the softest human being possible to this child. And it's like, see, that's still a human being there. There's something that happened through his life journey that made him that way. You know what I'm saying? But look how he's behaving right now. Or like the toughest dudes that have the most love for their dog, that if something happens to their dog, you see them, their eyes get watery and they don't want you to see them. You know what I mean? It's like it's that humanity, man. They are that humanity's possessed, man. You gotta respect it, natural law. But yeah, did the Tonight Show is very welcome. Uh, it's a very welcome blessing, man, that I have. I never thought that I was gonna do it. You know,
Yeah.
I just thought, dude, I thought I was just gonna be a guy in Florida. I drive the satellite truck. I work the camera. My wife have a house. We got our 2 dogs, front yard, backyard. We're good. We're in the Sunshine State. You know, there's not a shortage of water. You know, we were good. And then life threw this curveball, and I discovered this purpose, and that's the thing. I always try to look at it like a purpose of a service, and like, let me touch that person every time before I go on stage. I said, let whoever needs to hear me really hear me in that audience. So I've already had those weird moments, Elmer, where someone has walked up and said, "Man, this is yeah, I thought this was gonna be my last day." I go, "What?" No, man, I'm going through some stuff, and I decided to come watch comedy today because I thought that today was going to be my last day. But man, you made me laugh, dude. You made me laugh a lot, and I was just like, all right.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
The power of laughter, man.
Yeah, buddy.
So let me ask you a question. Did you get that F-150?
No, man, I've been trying. So that's a beautiful thing for the people that haven't seen my last Tonight Show. Please go out and watch it and share it. I did a whole pitch to where I'm talking about buffaloes and how I drove around it with ease thanks to my rented Ford F-150 pickup. And I only say that in hopes of getting Ford to give me a free, fully loaded Ford F-150 pickup. And Elmer, I could not believe. I remember doing it in rehearsal there in New York in the studio on Jimmy Fallon, and telling the stage manager and the crew, because they're the only ones that are there at that time for rehearsal. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I can't believe you guys are letting me do this. And then the stage manager burst out laughing, and everybody's laughing. And they're like, we can't believe they're letting you do this. And then I was just like, it was such a signature moment. It was a different level of stand-up. If you watch all my other stand-up, it was the first time that I didn't have a microphone in my hand. I did it more as a performance piece where I just had the lavalier, no microphone in my hand, and I got to move both of my hands and be a little bit more free. And it was truly this last time it was joyful, man. It was a different moment.
So what do you got going next?
I got a few things. There's another TV thing coming up that I'm not allowed to talk about. And then thanks to this Tonight Show and hopefully this TV thing that I'll come back next. By the way, anytime that you call, I'm here for you. You know what I mean? Whether it's just to be the podcast or you're like, hey, man, I need a little bit of light. You know, I'm here for you, you know? Yes, so, and hopefully if this other thing goes off, not hopefully, I have faith that this next thing that I'm doing that I'm not allowed to talk about is going to generate enough buzz that then I'll be in Dallas, you know, sold out shows, and I'll be all around the country. So right now it's a bunch of one-nighters and corporate gigs, and I do it all. I'm one of those comics that does everything from a corporate gig to so I don't try to do parties, like personal parties. Those are very, like, that bag would have to be, and I've turned down big bags because it's just so weird that it's like, nah, I'm good. Everything's paid at home. I'm good. I don't but I do it all, man. I do it all. So I stay on the road. The best way is at Hey Lando. You see it. And that's where I post all my stuff.
Well, man, I've been seeing your success, man, and I wish you nothing but the best. And
thank you.
Everybody, man, if you haven't seen his special, man, y'all need to check it out, man. My brother right here is funny. He is hilarious, man. Had me cracking up, man. I'm not just telling you that, just trying to gas somebody up, man. This is real, man. He's funny. You need to check it out. And hopefully we'll see you in Dallas soon.
Oh, I love to, man. I used to play the improv there, but my buddy Nick Guerra and Ralph Barbosa, also Hyenas. I think that's the comedy club over there also.
Yes, sir.
But I come through a lot through Texas, but it's mostly my stops is always Austin. You know, I do the festivals, the Moon Tower, and everything, which I highly recommend. I highly recommend that you even look up where Moon Tower is. You go over there and do some podcasting on the street type deal. Just take a recorder, an audio recorder, 2 mics, and just go over there and get a bunch of comics and actors and everything. Moon Tower is a good vibe. It's a good hang and stuff. And this year I'm so happy. Ralph Barbosa's there, and also my buddy John Wynn. They're both there, and along with some other friends, but these are like close people. So I'm happy. I've been able to do it like back to back. This is the last year. This is the first year that I don't do it, but that's more like a contract. I have a contract with some other stuff,
yes,
like
sir.
I said earlier.
Well, man, thank you again for taking the time to show me some love and coming on the podcast. And man, I was excited. I was a little nervous. I was like, Orlando's gonna be on the show today. I was like, man. And
yeah.
You know,
Oh, and there's so many moving parts with the engineer has to be involved even more than normal. And shout out to him. What's your engineer's name?
Kenny.
Kenny's doing an amazing job. We made it happen. It's connected. We're coming through the internet. I'm doing it old school. I'm not even on the Wi-Fi, Kenny. I'm on the Ethernet cable. I'm hardwired, Kenny.
Man, thank you, man, and salute you, man, on everything you got going. I wish you the best of luck and blessings, my brother. Blessings.
Likewise, man. I want you to be the #1 podcast out there, not the #1 Latino podcast. I want you to be the #1 podcast out there. And please reach out to Steve Trevino, reach out to Edwin Licona, the producer of Entre Nos, reach out to Jesus Sepulveda, Ida Rodriguez, and if use my name, man. I'm saying it on air. Please leave this in, don't edit it. I'm co-signing for you, and use me as a reference to any of these dudes, man. Any of these people.
Thank you a lot, man. And
yeah.
But man, thank you, man. Let's give it up for Orlando Leyba. I appreciate it, man. And like I always say, man, keep your ears to the streets, and I catch you on the block. It's your boy Money Elms. Peace.